were thinking that, no, how can you just do that and say, you're limiting the testing, and then apparently the criteria is so stringent that you must literally be dying so then for them to actually qualify you to get a test. So basically, the state of emergency in Japan declared while they said that stay at home and everything, shutting down business. Essentially, they don't have the power to enforce it because the Constitution of Japan, something on it says that you cannot infringe on people's right to a freedom or that kind of thing. As much as it's a state of emergency, they can only request very strongly worded requests for people to say please stay at home. Shops are still technically allowed to operate, that we do see that the big chains responding to this, saying that we're shutting our chains shops for this period of time, but the individually run shops are still open. The likelihood is still depending on it. So
right now, the trains and everything, we still can find a seat to sit down. That's not packed at all right now. Yeah, maybe during the peak hours there are still empty seats, but people do try to maintain some distance, and especially JR trains, they start to open windows, so that helps a lot, I think.
Up till about 5 days ago, if I were to go out, I would see a lot of children playing, children of all ages, from very small to high school. A lot of cars. If I go to the supermarket, there's a lot of people. 3 to 4 days ago, it looks like human traffic is lower than last week. I think on social media, there's cases of people popping up saying that they have flu symptoms, they cannot breathe, or they have high fever for a few days, but they are not able to get PCR testing. The past 2 days, there's actually news that started to cover this, because previously it wasn't covered on the news, and then NHK News, they are talking about it now actually. There's an article saying that the Tokyo Medical Association is going to look into how they can take over the testing system.
Getting testing, I think, is quite difficult here now, given by the second-hand stories we've been hearing. Because they say that you can't just go to a hospital or clinic and say that, look, I have a fever, I have a sore throat, can you test me? It's just not allowed. You have to call a certain hotline and then give them your symptoms, give them your past travel history, and then give them your contact, where do you live, what are you doing, and then they will determine whether are you eligible for a test. If you fail any of this criteria, it's highly likelihood that you just get rejected. We were thinking that, no, how can you just do that and say, you're limiting the testing, and then apparently the criteria is so stringent that even if you must literally be dying so then for them to actually qualify you to get a test.
Japan has a lot of face saving, they 他们要面子 You can tell that they are limiting testing, because to them, if I don't test, then I have lower numbers, and then they wanted the Olympics to go on. So only after the postponement was confirmed, then the numbers spiked, because they finally did more tests. But they are still limiting. If you look at Worldometer or something like that, the global numbers, Japan has a population of 126 million, and the testing is only 116k as of yesterday. And if you look at Singapore, we already did close to 100k in a population of 5 plus million.
Especially every time there's a new announcement, then the Prime Minister say, oh, we have a new announcement, and then people start panicking. But it's just like Singapore, people run to NTUC, that kind of thing. Toilet paper.
Toilet paper. Yes.
Paper, mask.
As a Singaporean, what I think is we see the comparison between how Singapore deals with it, and then we see how Japan deals with it. So there's one thing I want to say to Singaporeans is Singapore is actually quite lucky, because the government speed, the responses are really fast, in the sense that you see that they're going to extend new measures, they can do it tonight, that kind of thing. When we say we're going to pay out money, next week you get the money. So Japan has this whole thing that they want to pay out, like across the country. The conversation started in March, and then they finally, after so many changes of policy, they are suddenly confirmed the amount and who's going to pay out, and then that will only come in late May because of all the bureaucratic. They have to go to their parliament, they have to go to their whatever political thing. So the payment only comes in May when the conversation started out in March. And then they said that they're going to issue 2 masks to every household by post. And by now, we still haven't received it, although they say on the news we are dispatching it. So it's a very convenient society. It's well thought out. But when speed of responses by the bureaucracy is really something that I feel that we see a stark difference between what Singapore is doing and what Japan is doing. So in that sense, I do think that Singapore has it better.
When I see the speech by PM Lee and the press conference and stuff like that, like as especially when we are overseas Singaporeans, right, we tend to really appreciate what Singapore has done for its people and for us. And the communication is so clear, when PM Lee says things like it's direct to you. And he mentioned to the migrant workers that we will take care of you as much as well as we take care of Singaporeans. These kind of words. And the Japanese government doesn't even say this to its own citizens.
When things needs to be done, Singapore we do see the speed of things being done without getting tangled by unnecessary red tape. So when it comes out to that, we be thankful for the kind of efficiency that we have.
Maybe not just foreigners. I think there's locals, not all, but there's definitely good amount of Japanese who also feel that the government's response is slow and they were trying to save things because of Olympics. And there's a lot of people who are upset about how the government feels like government is just doing everything wrong and they're just apologizing, but they're not fixing the problem.
Not just Japanese government, but we also read what other governments are doing, like US, South Korea. But I think people in Singapore maybe because too comfortable, maybe. So they don't really pay attention to what's happening outside of. They just want the Singapore government to do what they want them to do.
When you see bad news in Japan, it doesn't mean that the best thing for me is to go home to Singapore. If we want to go home, we have to do a very roundabout way. We have to go all the way to Tokyo and we have to come in contact with a lot of strangers. So it's a lot safer for most of us to just self-isolate and do our thing. Yeah. I know that the world out there sounds bad because of all these bad news. And I'm scared also. But that's why I'm self-isolating.